There it is. All yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Shauna. So good to be here again and spend time with you all. And just loved Helena's enthusiasm for Nisargadatta. It's reminds me of my own excitement reading it. It was life-changing stuff. So thank you for sharing that. I wanted to use this time to talk about something that's perhaps fundamental to our awakening, and maybe we could embrace it more and maybe understand it more, and that is how to come to recognize what we really are, what you really are, what everything really is, in a much simpler and easier way. Life gets very, very complicated when we start to think about things. And in a way, awakening is a reversal of that. It is stepping back from wanting to experience everything in our life through the filter of our thoughts, our mind. And it's a stepping back from trying to work things out as a apparent separate being, and stepping into a more of a love affair of wanting to directly experience what we actually are, what everything really is. And for me, that was a real changeover, because we've been conditioned to think about everything, to think about ourselves, to think about other beings, to think about the things we want or need, and the things we want to get rid of, such as some negative emotion or thoughts. And while we're caught in this trap of thinking about everything, we can never really experience what we actually are, because the mind, through no fault of its own, is a thinking machine. And the best it can do is think about who we really are, and think about what it is to be the real essence of our being. But it can never really lead to direct experience. And so how do we shortcut that thought process? And how do we come to a direct experience of our own essential nature, which is not that we're actually a person. There is no person living in your body. There is no separate entity who's in charge of your thoughts and your problems and your karmic patterns, just as there isn't here in this body. And we might know that theoretically, but how do we shortcut out of that into an actual experience of being? And for me, there are two things that really helped me to understand that the power that we had as the infinite self, that perhaps I certainly wasn't using to a full capacity. One of those is devotion to truth. And we all have some devotion to truth, of course, or we wouldn't be gathered here like this in such a beautiful community. But we also, if we're really honest, we have some devotion to the illusionary self. And that is not our fault at all. We've relied upon this imaginary separate person that we think lives in the body, that we just call me, to fix the problems that we think we have. And we think that by thinking about things, they're going to get fixed. But that never really works fully, does it? So those problems seem to go on when we're thinking about them. When we start to experience who we really are, we are just going to move to a place in our consciousness, the infinite consciousness, that problems can't really exist in. Or a problem that seems to happen is just the beginning of a expansion in and as our life, more abundance of inner resources, peace and joy, and more expansion in our outer resources, time, energy, finances, whatever way that shows up, friendships and wonderful relationships and all of that. So devotion to truth then could be something that we can increase. Let's not say that we aren't devoted enough to it. When we see attention go to the mind, to thoughts, it's easy to blame ourselves and say we don't have enough devotion right now. But it's only, we do have that devotion, right? It's just invested in the incorrect place, invested in the mind. Because we had this idea that mind can get us out of trouble. I'm using the word mind or ego or separate self synonymously here. That which we are not, actually. So devotion to truth, what actually is possible to cultivate just by wanting it. Just to see, I'm kind of split here. I'm kind of 50% devoted to thoughts because my attention keeps going back to them. Where my attention is drawn to is going to show me where my devotion still is. And if you can look at that non-judgmentally, we've all practiced all of our life paying attention to thoughts first and reality second, or real nature second. All we want to do is flip that over. The good news is we only have to get to like 51% devotion to actual truth. And something very powerful starts to happen there. It starts to get a traction of its own and a momentum that builds on its own. How do we develop devotion? How do we actually do that? For me, it came down to the second thing, which might be the same as devotion, but it was a curiosity. And getting back in touch with that curiosity that I had as a child, and we all did. It is a natural attribute of who we really are, who we actually are. The infinite consciousness is absolutely curious about everything. So curious that it bypasses the mind straight away and wants to actually experience something. And you can see this when you watch a child playing. You can see if you give them something new that they've never met before, they don't want to think about it. They want to pick it up and play with it and see what it is and what it can do. And we can, to a large extent, re-engage that curiosity. It's not childish, it's childlike. An awakened being is very, very childlike in many ways. So to again, just when I joined the session before I started this, I heard this phrase that absolutely Nisargadatta quoted, and I might quote it wrongly, but to really know something is to be it, right? We can be the infinite self and not really know it. And we've all spent our lives imagining we're something else. How do we come to know it? It's to directly experience it, to be really curious what we actually are. Or as curious as we can be in this moment. So this isn't a rejection of the usual way. This isn't a rejection of thoughts. It's an acceptance that thoughts are going to try to tell us who we are. And that's okay. But then we're not going to stop there. We're not just going to accept the thoughts. If mind says to us, you're really not getting this awakening thing, you're never going to make it. We stop there as a final answer, right? We go, oh, okay, yeah. And we feel terrible. What happens if we just go, that's an answer, and I'm going to stay curious, what is really true? So let's do a little experiment. Let's do a little inquiry together if you want to join me in this. And after a little while, we'll do some inquiry and then I'll open it up to if anyone had any challenges or problems with the inquiry or any insights. And it's really, really simple to do. We don't need any complicated techniques. We just need as much curiosity as we can muster. So we're just going to start by asking, you can ask whichever question you like. I always love the question, what am I? Because who am I? Just I know it works for some beings, but it just seemed to engage my mind. So who am I? What am I? Or this question that we've worked with, where am I? Just asking that of yourself now, whichever. I'm going to use what am I when I'm speaking, but you can substitute whichever one you like. What am I? When I first really began to ask that question of myself, I noticed after I'd asked the question, there was this urgency and this need to find an answer. There was a searching or a tryingness that engaged itself, an energy. Can you feel it? I want to know what I want to know what I am, and I have to find out. So what happens if you just let that energy happen? Something needs to find an answer. What if we're just going to stay with the question here more than any particular answer? Just gently coming back to what actually am I? And for a moment, just coming to a point where it's okay that you don't know. Again, with being conditioned to have to know. And we substitute the idea that we're a separate being with the idea that we are the infinite consciousness. I am the awareness. I am the self. I am the supreme. And whatever name we put on that, we want to find a thought answer. But just noticing that uncomfortableness, something wants to wriggle into a definition. But it would only be thinking about you, it wouldn't be a direct experience so much. So we just let that happen. It's okay to not know. And it seems paradoxical because the whole idea of self-realization is to realize what yourself is. But first, we have to start with some honesty that I don't actually know what I am if I don't reference thoughts. And even if I do reference thoughts, they're just telling me what they think and parroting back to me something. So what are you? If you just ask this question and let it go, like making no effort at all to find anything out. Like you were going into a restaurant, you chose what you wanted from the menu, you gave your order to the waiter, and you just relaxed. You don't go running into the kitchen and the chef and saying, is it ready yet? It'll be ready when it's ready. So just self-inquiry like that. What actually am I? And then just kind of gently listening, gently open. Not needing an answer. Mind will need an answer, but not you. And coming back to the question, if you wander, if attention wanders off to thinking about yourself, just putting the brakes on that seekingness with the question again. What actually am I? With as much curiosity. Remember when you were a child and there was a Christmas present waiting under the tree and you would pick it up and try to feel if it rattled or if it made a sound or what shape it was. And you tried to find out what was in there. You were excited. You didn't really want to think about it, right? You wanted to just experience it. Or if you ever looked at your newborn baby or a beautiful sunset or an amazing vista in nature, or listen to some beautiful music that moves you to tears. You don't want to think about it, right? You just want to be here for it. Just the question is going to do that. What am I? Giving yourself permission to absolutely not know. Maybe it's not about knowing. Maybe it's about asking the question. For me, there's a little period of adjusting to the thing inside that was wriggling around trying to find the right answer here. And he was tempting to pick up a thought definition of myself. But I am the one that hears that thought definition, and I'd rather just stay curious. What are you then? What does it feel like to ask that question when you don't need to find out even a slight bit? What does that feel like? to not know. What am I? Where am I? Who am I? And as I started to ask these kind of questions, something began to shift inside that was profoundly different to anything I'd ever experienced. There was no big insight or epiphany. Oh, I am the infinite self. There was this enjoying of the question. I was enjoying the question, enjoying the not knowing, the mystery. Perhaps the first time in my life able to enjoy not needing to know. There was something slowing down in asking the question, something opening up. This forward momentum of the seeking was kind of just starting to rest here with the question. And maybe we can all sit here and not know what we are, right? Wherever we are in the world right now, whatever time it is where you are. Can we just not know? I don't know. And is that a terrible thing? What are you really? Could you be curiosity itself? Could you delight in not knowing, actually? Could you not be someone who's curious, but actually being curiosity? Curiosity personified, looking like a human being, delighting and savoring in this tasting of the question, what am I? And as we ask it with this kind of curiosity, it lifts us up above the mind. And you might start to get some kind of answers. You might start to get some kind of relaxation in the body, maybe a sense of silence, spaciousness, openness, lightness. Or not, but just the question itself. Just doing the work for us here and opening up. And we're actually, whether we realize it or not, we're experiencing our real nature like this, what we actually are, that which has no need to know, that which just is. That which is curiosity, openness. So not only are we being it, we are knowing it. We're understanding how to access it directly, which is just to shortcut the mind by being really curious. I can either be curious about what I actually am, or I can think I know. And those things that I think I know about myself will be all kinds of human experiences. I know I am the infinite self. I know I am a separate being. I know I'm never going to wake up. I know I'm waking up. I know I'm caught in illusion. On and on it goes. But nothing compares to the feeling of just not knowing anything right now. And the fastest way to forget everything you know is to ask a question with curiosity. What actually am I? And still now, even now, I have no idea what I am. If I did have an idea, I'd savor it, taste it, then throw it away again. because it's delicious to not know. It's delightful. Can you feel that your body's going, yes, I really like not knowing. This is a really nice experience. There's things we have to know in our day-to-day life, but not this. You are the greatest mystery of all. And it's totally okay to not know. And in the end, the only thing you come to realize and to know is that you're absolutely unknowable. Infinite mystery, beyond time and space. You can know how you're appearing as this universe, all these apparent forms you're making, playing with, but you can't really know anything about you. You sculpt yourself into a shape. You can see that shape, but it tells you nothing about you actually, right? They're beautiful shapes. They're all beautiful. It doesn't tell you much about the essence. This is the way to experience your actual essence. To disengage temporarily at first from needing to find out. Enjoying the question and the not knowing. It's an antidote to believing. It's an antidote to suffering. You cannot suffer here. Only when you know something will you suffer. What you don't know will result in bliss rather than hurting you in this situation. And what you do know will reflect as suffering. The moment you know something, you've taken a shape. And here, you haven't defined yourself at all, right? What am I? Do you have to define yourself? Do you have to get to a final answer? Is such a thing even possible for you? Maybe that's why the sages are so happy, right? Because they just realize they're never going to find out. Not in the way the mind wants, at least. It's a huge relief, huge burden removed. When I realized I could never find out what I am. I wouldn't want to. I'd rather keep tasting like an infinite, a meal that goes on forever. And each course is more delicious than the previous one, and you never get full. Taste yourself as a human being and all the things that come with that, but knowing what you really are, this mystery. Just coming back to the question again, just because it's delightful to ask again, what really am I? And paradoxically, by not needing to find an answer, we kind of get one. I am this that doesn't know or need to know. I just am. I just am. It's an abnormal state of consciousness, an altered abnormal state of consciousness, a distortion of reality to have to define yourself all the time. A child doesn't know who it is. They're just delightfully experiencing in that moment. Their innocence is this, right? That childlike wonder and curiosity. And we're just returning to our natural state. This is enlightenment, right? Enlightened of all of our self-definitions. We really don't need them. Just take a few moments. I'll open it up for questions and sharings in a minute. Let's just take a few moments to feel what it feels like to not know yourself and to not need to know. Just dropping the question in every now and again when you want to. So this is your wordless, thoughtless self. And there's a piece here that is not coming from an understanding. It's not temporary satisfaction. It is permanent, stable peace that comes from not needing to know. Any time that we find ourselves in trouble, playing with the mind again, we can just begin to foster this curiosity again. Just noticing that which needs to find out. Just observing it. Bringing yourself away from it gently, not judging it. It's just an old reflex. They need to find out. But there's no final definition of you. And even if there was, it would be phenomenal. It wouldn't tell you about you. The greatest epiphany or insight you could ever have would be over and gone and old news. And you could rediscover yourself fresh today as this. And the more times that we gently just drop this question in, the less able somehow we are afterwards to go back and play with the mind so much. And the less the mind is given the task of trying to fix everything, it can begin to rest. So if anyone would like to share their experience of this, I would love to hear. Or if you have any questions you'd like to ask about anything to do with awakening, feel free to just go ahead and ask. Helena?
Yes.
Hi.
That was amazing. That was amazing. And the fact that there was no need to know the answer was like freedom.
Mm.
But there was something really, there was something else amazing going on in my experience now. I did not know, I did not need to know who I am, but there was a knowing that, how can I put this? Let's see if I can explain. There was a knowing that what I am is here.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense. It was, even though there was no name, there was no labeling, there was more than certainty. It was a knowing that what I am is here. So yes, thank you. That was amazing.
And it's just starting to gently move away from trying to figure it out, right? And just letting the answer present itself. The reality comes rushing in. It's here. It's obviously here, and it's what you are. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful. Leonie?
Press that twice. Thank you so much for that. That was, yeah, that was wonderful. There was a lot of laughing and crying, but like just more laughing. Like,
It's a fine line between them two, right?
yeah, I think I was laughing, crying out of like joy. It was just, yeah, it was, and it's just another answer, you know. So yeah, it was. So I was coming back to the question, and you know, enjoying the experience, but also just coming back to the question, and again, and the not that I had to, but the more frequently I asked, the more open it became, and then the more laughter. So yeah, thank you.
And what if we realize that every time we ask the question, there's a capacity to experience it even deeper? So as I was saying it, I was experiencing it myself, of course, too, and it's deeper today. It's more amazing today than it was yesterday, right? And tomorrow it'll be even more amazing. Yeah. And it never ends, never. Thank you for sharing. We'll go to Winnie.
Yes, hi, Helen.
Hi.
I wasn't able to have a clear seeing. I felt like I was in the middle of a cloud or something. I couldn't kind of, step back and kind of see. So I wonder what to do about that.
Nothing.
No, but it's like, how to say, like something, nothing is happening, nothing is kind of.
That's okay, right? How did it feel to be in the middle of the cloud? Did your body relax, or did it?
No, it was confusing. It was like I can't have a clear seeing today, but what is happening here?
Just gently looking, do I need to make something happen? Do I need to make an epiphany happen? Or can I just rest here like this?
Okay. Okay.
As if the seeing is going to happen, but any effort we expend to try to make it happen is counterproductive, right? Your true nature is just here, and just being that as much as you can, then epiphanies and insights are going to come rushing in. But we don't need to make even that happen. It's just, let me just be with the question and be here as much as I can. And then in that openness, then something can begin to shift.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Grace?
Hello, Helen.
Hi.
I just want to say that it feels it's been a while, especially after we started the self-inquiry, and also now it feels the more I ask for this direct knowing, I mean, it's just there is intense terror happening. It's more. And it's been a while now, the waves, the intense emotions, and the way it's even in my external surrounding. It feels like there is something requiring me to engage with some conversations or to resolve the situation. And I feel, I don't feel it anymore. I feel like I don't know how can I resolve this. And I feel I just want to come back to this. I'm getting more obsessed about, but there is a sense of feeling like there is more obsessed about wanting to know the truth. But at the same time, there is a sense of frustration and threat, and as if like I am doing this with a sense of it's like emergency, spiritual emergency. It feels for me, and I can't say I am unhappy. Like something in me, I feel like I had enough. Like let's bring it on, even if my circumstances are pushing me. But I don't know if this is gonna work this way. When it comes about curiosity, I feel the curiosity is so much infused with a lot going on. Like, so I don't know.
So what's actually happening? What is it you feel you need to resolve? Is it something in your outer life, or something?
It's something about my living situation, whether I'm staying or leaving, or something.
Let me ask you this then: Has thinking about it and trying to fix it worked?
yeah, that's what I want to understand, because I can see even the compulsion trying to figure it out. And it feels there is something threat. If I don't figure it out, yeah, those people that I'm living with, it's gonna be pushed, or like I will have to, yeah,
But can you find someone, a person who could sort it out?
no.
Can you even find a person who's choosing whether to experience what's real or to go back and try and fix it? Is there even anyone deciding that?
No.
So all we find when we look is who you really are, whatever name we want to give that. So is this problem yours that you're giving me here, that you're asking about? Is this problem yours here? Do you even have to make this decision of whether to engage with trying to fix it with the mind and strategizing and planning and trying to figure it out, or whether even to just rest as the real self and let it resolve itself? Because that's the choice you're being supposedly given, right? But can you make that choice, and do you need to?
Yeah, I think I'm realizing more that I don't need to make this choice. At the same time, there is more, there is more awareness of so much terror. Like I'm always navigating terror with this.
So there's a huge difference between I won't need to make this decision and I can't. I can't, because who I am has never made a decision, actually. Right? Can you see that? Experience what you really are with me here. What is it deciding? Is it making any effort at all in that way that we seem to do as a separate person? And so,
Yeah, I don't know.
every apparent decision that we seem to have made as a separate being was just what was going to show up anyway, directly from the infinite self. It was going to arise from the formlessness as a decision thought. This is what I'll do. And that decision thought would spontaneously arise, not manufactured by a person. It's just like steam rising off of boiling water. It's just happening. Thoughts, coming out of the infinite silence. And a decision thought is going to arise for you at the right time. It cannot be otherwise, because there's no separate person to get in the way of that process. There's just thoughts about what to do. But to think that we can even make the choice, do I engage with my ego or do I rest as my being? Even that isn't really our choice. It's the first lie we tell ourselves. You are this already. We might imagine in our imagination that we can go play with the mind and have to pull ourselves back, and then we're going and, but that's just what we're dreaming. Attention is doing that. You are already free. And when a seeming problem starts to arise, if we just watch it, it will unfold into a solution. The problem solution, like a flower blossoming. I mean, how do you know that you're not already on the highest path with this? How do you know that it's not already working out? Only what the mind tells you is making you doubt that, right?
Yeah.
And, has mind actually been the most reliable friend in this kind of situation for us all? Not so much.
No.
So if we just admit the truth here is you can't even make this decision. Not that you don't need to. Even if we say, I don't need to, it will just unfold. We're still fostering some illusion that we can make a decision as a separate self. There's only you, the infinite being, and there's how much you're being that consciously in this moment. That's the only thing that we can ever have any control over.
So how can I, what is my, exactly, can you just tell me what's my responsibility in every
You
moment?
bring your attention back as often as you can to what is real about you. And in doing that, whatever needs to move in the phenomenality can begin to move, because we're not trying to imagine we can micromanage it, right? So it's paradoxical to the mind that to bring attention inwards and inwards and inwards and inwards and keep going in, keep seeing yourself clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. Mind says that's never going to solve the problems, but it's the only thing that does. There isn't a world out there of objects and forms anyway we come to see, ultimately. But even if there was, trying to fix all of that only makes you feel like a separate being. And we're trying to fix what's already in resolution. We just won't let that process happen because we think we can do something about it. Even a spiritual doing, if I hang out as my real self or my false self, which, you know, I'm trying to bring this over here. All you can ever do is see that you're already that, and see it and experience it, and it slows you down, slows down this frantic seekingness, right?
Yeah, I think this is very helpful to know that it's not even something to try to like micromanage. Like, am I enough devoted? Like,
What
am
I
I enough?
really want you to hear from this conversation is that you can't. Not that you don't need to, you can't. And as
So
frustrating as that is for the mind, it is
yeah,
liberation in itself.
yeah, I feel for me like there is a like really question. I don't know if it's question mark or there is a lot going also in terms of sensations. I'm feeling sometimes like ongoing exhaustions and as if like there is always vibration in my body and maybe I am distracted by all this terror and as if like it's my responsibility to do something even with that. Yeah.
You're just finally becoming aware of the fear that's always been in our system. We just haven't been able to face it. And it's because you're starting to really live more as who you actually are that this fear can come up and out. There's been this panic. Well, I thought I had to fix and run my entire life.
Yeah.
If I got it wrong, I might die. That's such a pressure, right? Such a pressure. And when we finally start to be able to step out of that and realize there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can do, and nothing I need to do. It's unfolding anyway in the highest way, way better than I could ever imagine or orchestrate as a separate being. Then we would call that trust or surrender, whatever that is. This fear can finally come up and leave. It's been trapped in our tissues, in our chakras, in our cells. And it proliferates an infinite number of thoughts about fear and life, and this constant trying to manage my life. You start to just come out of that, right?
Yes.
To just bringing your attention back to what's real as often as you can, because it's the only thing worth looking at. It's the only thing that's here. And see what happens to your problems when you do that. The other way hasn't worked for us anyway. Your only refuge now is to stay here as often as you can. To be this consciously, you are it anyway, but to consciously recognize it. And as you experience it, even for a nanosecond, it's overwriting the brain's ability to think in separation, to think like a separate being or a doer or a decider or a chooser.
I'm just also seeing all these judgments about like, you are avoiding this. You are like using spirituality to avoid some. I can
Whatever
see.
the mind says to you from now on, you need to hold up against, is that true for me? Can you avoid something or even engage with it? You can't even do that. You just are. Yeah. Just bringing attention back. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Lean. Hi.
Hi. Hello, Helen.
Hi.
Yeah, there's just like two little things that I noticed lately. One thing is that so this question, what am I? In fact, which is this regularly just comes up spontaneously.
Mhm.
Sometimes just also seem to do it.
It's a mind's favorite toy now, right? Mine's going, oh, I like this.
Yeah, indeed. And like when this question comes up, also in generally, then often this kind of silence just comes, and I mean sometimes there's like a kind of also but what am I? This question about it, but generally there's more like a kind of peacefulness, and but lately what I notice also is like in the last days sometimes it's a bit, I don't know exactly, it's a little bit funny, or I asked this and then the mind comes in and says my name and says, yeah, but you are a separate being. But it's a bit like, I don't know, it feels a bit absurd. Like when I ask this question, and even though this peacefulness is there, but it feels a bit as if, I don't know exactly what it is, but it feels a bit as if there's a rebellion against this or something, against this peacefulness, or I don't know. That's just something, one of the things I notice. And then the other thing is that, well, it's not very clear, but sometimes just, often I'm just like sitting somewhere and it's just quiet, it's just still. And then, well, often things become very vivid, like, wow, very, very present.
Mm-hmm.
And then also sometimes it seems, it's not literally, but sometimes it feels that I'm very small, or I'm quite big, but not literally, but or other things like that a little bit. And it's okay. It's not like, it doesn't feel like a problem in any way, but it's just a bit, these are just things I noticed lately. And I just wanted to, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe you have any idea if this, I don't know if this has to do with this or what it is.
Yeah. I mean, but the first one, mind rebels because it can't see that you've reached the truth, right? It can't tell that you have recognized who you are. It's still talking as if you haven't recognized yourself, because it's got no ability to see, to actually see. It can only think about things. So it's like a sat nav that keeps telling you how to reach a destination after you've got out of the car and you've been in the house for an hour. You know, it's still telling you to take the next right or whatever, because it can't actually stop and look and see where you are. It's just working from a thought constructed map of where it thinks you are.
Mm-hmm.
So it will never stop. It will never stop in that way. It's always going to be trying to get you to your destination because it can't see you're already there. So it stops eventually because you're not energizing it anymore to try to find a solution. We've been giving it some importance, right? That it should know, or it has a capacity to help us realize the self, the true self. And it can only think about it. So it just carries on with its same old thoughts. Because it's standing there in its little thought constructed world, and it has no capacity to recognize what those thoughts are appearing in. So it will still and always and only argue for the fact that you're a separate being. And eventually it just means less and less, right? It's like it's speaking because it's speaking to who it thinks you are, and there'll be a little temptation to go try to deal with it, to try to stop it or change it, as if you could do that, you know, as a separate being. So it's just a deeper invitation to remain as what you already are, to be consciously what you already are. That in which thoughts are just floating around like leaves in the wind, and it's not really an issue, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What you're saying, but also I still engage. I know I still engage the mind when I look at which thoughts are still there. It's especially thoughts about awakening, and like, because I see there's still attachments to, oh, I'm going to lose this, and then I'm engaging the mind to try to remember how to get there. So it's just
Are you
about...
the one engaging the mind even?
No.
So something goes and plays with it, like, oh yeah, let's dig into that. But even that you don't have any control over in that way, right? Attention goes to mind when it goes, but you can see that you're watching even that process. You're watching the attention move from the silence, from the awareness. So again, not your problem. It's not your responsibility to get attention to remain on what's real. You can't do it, nor do you need to. There's peace in that, right?
Yeah.
What was the second thing? Sorry,
That's fine. Just like these little things sometimes of like things are being vivid or that feel small or big, or there are other things I can't remember now, as if reality just feels a little bit different, but not literally, but it's as if I'm suddenly small.
It's because we've associated ourselves with the body, right? I am this body. It gives you a specific size and shape and even a weight and a set of characteristics. When you start to loosen up that definition, then you don't know how big you are, right? Or how small you are, or how much you weigh. You're weightless, formless. And there's always been this association. I'm sitting down right now. It's common to believe that, isn't it? But I'm not sitting, the body is. So all this starts to loosen itself. And with that, all kinds of wonderful, funky experiences are possible that, the senses get this kind of upgrade. It's like senses 2.0, you can like really vivid colors and flavors that are just, when you're eating food, and smells that are just, and sounds that come, subtle sounds that perhaps we couldn't hear before because it's just not enough life force. So it's just the consciousness flexing its muscles, like what's it like to be formless? Well, I don't know how big I am or how small I am or where I am. And it's just getting used to what it means to be free for itself and enjoying. There's an excess of life force energy freed up finally, because it's been all been invested in thoughts. And when that can just purely perceive through the senses, it is quite different. The same, but different, right? The same scene, but very alive, very vivid. And that at first that's intermittent, it comes and it goes. But after a while, I was looking out of the doorway of a store we were in today, and there was a really big weeping willow across the road, the trees that have the long things, and it was just dancing like in the wind, and it was just mesmerizing. And just moments like that just become normal, very continuous and normal, not boring. But we've been functioning on empty, right? Running the car on empty.
I'm sorry?
We've been running our vehicle on empty, almost out of petrol, gas, or whatever. Yeah. And now we have a full tank. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel boring at all. It's
no.
Like when it's so vivid, it's so like it's very normal, but also so wonderful. Like, and also as if a little bit, I don't know exactly how to say, but as if everything is standing still, but it's not really standing still, but so like there.
Yeah. It's immense and it's immediate and it's now. Right, something like that.
As if you see it for the first time.
It's yet to come.
Sorry?
The best is yet to come.
Yeah.
You ain't seen nothing yet, as they say.
Yeah, right.
Enjoy.
To come, then I'm very happy.
We best leave it there. We are out of time, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you. And I'll hand it back to you, Shauna. Thank you so much. Wonderful to be here with you all. Thank you.